Hi, this is David Wicks, Associate Professor and Chair of the Masters in Digital Education Leadership at Seattle Pacific University. And in this screencast, I want to share with you how you might use a free tool, SnagIt for Google Chrome, to create a screencast. If you're not familiar with Screencast, it's just simply making a video of what's happening on your screen. So it would include both the actions of your pointer, any place you go on your screen, as well as the audio. So what you're watching now is an example of a screencast. What you'll need for this screencast should start with a good instructional design model like the Assure model by Smaldino, and just simply you can see the pieces of it here, but for the Assure model, you first want to analyze your learners. In my case, I'm working with master's students, many who are teachers, and make sure that they have access to the tools they need, make sure that this is appropriate for their learning. Then you'll need some kind of standards or objectives. In our case, we're looking at the ISTE standards for teachers, and the first three ISTE standards are all fit this particular project, where you're hopefully facilitating and inspiring student learning and creativity. We're learning how to design and develop digital age learning experiences and assessment, and by doing the project, we're modeling digital age work and learning. Then you'll need to select strategies, technology, media, materials. This can be challenging. It's important to be able to use affordable tools. TechSmith makes a number of great screencasting tools, and for any teacher that wants to do screencasting as a regular part of their teaching assignment, I would suggest looking into either Camtasia Studio for PC or Camtasia for Mac, for the Macintosh environment. Also, there are various tools that could work if you're wanting to screencast using a tablet device like an iPad. Make sure that in this case the technology fits the project and that your teachers have access to it. We're choosing to use a free tool here and a fairly new tool because teachers are doing this as just a trial, and they might not want to purchase the full copy of a professional screencasting tool. And if they want their students to use the tool, a free tool might also be a good option, so they don't have to worry about budgeting issues. Then the U also would mean any materials, and so I think in this case we need to make sure that our teachers are aware of what resources they're going to need access to in terms of different logins and such, and I'll explain those. Requiring learner participation, so in this project these students are being asked to create a screencast for a project of their choice, so they are participating, and then there's a rubric used to evaluate their work. Hopefully these teachers will be able to reflect on whether they see the use of screencasting tools being something that they would do long term. Okay, then once we've talked about the ID model, then we need to talk about the materials that are needed, and those include Google Chrome browser and an updated version of Google Chrome. So on the Mac side, if you just go to Chrome and About Google Chrome, you can see whether or not you have a new version. This one telling me that it's up to date, and if it wasn't up to date, it would give me an opportunity to do that. Similar on the PC side. You also could do this Mac or PC, but you could also do this with newer Chromebooks. This is still a very new program. TechSmith has just recently released SnagIt for Google Chrome, so you should be aware of that things are changing quickly as new features are being added, and also there's always a chance that that something doesn't work. We are, living in beta, so to speak, and when we use some of these tools, we can run into some challenges. So having some patience and having good troubleshooting skills and knowing who to contact when you have challenges is very helpful. You should have a microphone, and preferably if you can have a USB mic, one that would plug into your USB port rather than into a mic jack. That can eliminate system noise, but use whatever you have. Even if there's some background noise, Screencast can be effective for students. You'll need to have Google Drive and YouTube accounts, and if you have Gmail, then you just need to go to drive.google.com and make sure that you've signed up for a Google Drive account if you don't already have one, and the same thing with YouTube. So your same Google account can work for both of those. Number 5, then you want to install SnagIt for Google Chrome, the extension and the application. Open up a new browser window and just search for SnagIt for Google Chrome. And then on that you should see a SnagIt for Google Chrome link. And if you select that, there's some good videos here to watch to help you better know what you're getting into with this application. But more importantly for us right now, Chrome extension for SnagIt and Chrome application. You'll need to click on both of those links and install those into your Google Chrome browser. And once you do that, you should see this little S up on your toolbar. That will be the application. You can watch a video that explains how to do that if you need more help, but at the end you should see the little S up there. You've got Google Drive, you've got YouTube, and you've installed SnagIt, both the extension and the application. You should be, again, thinking about your standards, thinking about your learning objectives for your students as you're planning your screencasting project. And then important is you're going to need a quiet space to do your recording. If you're doing this at home, you've got dogs, you've got kids, you've got roommates, spouse, whoever, the phone. Try to find yourself a little bit of time away from all of that to record, or go somewhere where you know that you have some quiet. In the case of this project for students in my class, the dog barks or the phone rings, not a big deal for this project. Do your best you can, but it is just, the goal is for you to experience screencasting and all of its possible warts, so to help you better understand whether it's a good fit for your teaching. So in terms of some steps for success, let me go through these with you. Again, you want to use the Assure model or another ID model, instructional design model, to help you prepare a script or a storyboard that you can use. It'll work much better if you have a clear plan of what you're doing on your screencast than if you just press record and start to talk. You'll want to practice your screencast. You can either practice it while you're recording and then just not save the recordings if you don't like them, or you can practice several times without recording and then record. Realize that it might take several tries. You might record several times before you begin to be satisfied, but also know that nobody likes the way their voice sounds. Everybody thinks they say too many times. Nobody could say more than I do. And just be satisfied, okay? If you try it recording 2 or 3 times, know that it's more important that you get that screencast to your students that they can use it than it is that you make it a perfect screencast. Again, we want to minimize any distractions. Those would also include, like, if you've got any kind of notifications that will pop up on your screen, such as if your text messages, your email, you got a little blinking light at the bottom of your screen telling you need to update your virus software. All those things should be taken care of beforehand so that your viewers aren't distracted by them. Next step, you'll want to navigate to the web page for your screencast. So if you've decided to share how to use a particular website, then you'll want to go to that website at this particular point in your screencast. And I'll mention this again when I demonstrate this. And then once you're on that page, you're going to open a new tab on your browser. And so I'll demonstrate that as well. I'll come back to this, but I'd open a new tab on my browser, and then up at the top left there's a little link that says Apps. If you click on that, this is where you're going to click on SnagIt. Okay, let me just show you quickly that if I'm back on my page here and I click on the SnagIt in the tool area, that particular link will allow me to take a screen capture, not create a screencast. In other words, I'm going to take a picture of what's on my screen, which can be really useful. I took a picture of my slide, and if I wanted to call that steps to success, it's syncing that. I could now share that with someone. So if I had been on a web page and wanted to get a snapshot of something on a web page, I now have a picture of it. I can also, if this is something that you want to point out to students, I can also use the tools to the left to drag a box around something, add text, add a circle. But you could mark up this particular image and share that with students. So think of this as possibly student work. You could be pointing to things and making text comments, and then once you've done that, after it's finished syncing, we see it's syncing down here at the bottom. Once it's finished syncing, then you could click on that copy link, or you could click on download and have that picture to use. I'm not going to actually wait for it to finish syncing here. We'll just go ahead and on with our project. But realize again that the link up here on the top is actually for your screen capture, getting a picture of the screen, and we want a screencast, so that's why we'll go to the app. So let me close the library here. I'm going to actually go back to the library and then close that window. Okay, so we've shown how to get to the SnagIt app, and when you do that, you need to be prepared to start right away once you do that, once you click on that SnagIt app. So let me show you how that's going to look. When I click on that SnagIt app, I need to be ready to start, because when I click this plus sign, it's going to be ready to go. I'll see a message down at the bottom of the screen, and I need to be ready to start at that time. So I'm going to close this. We'll come back to all this here in a second when I'm actually demonstrating how this will work. So the screencast, once you click on that little plus sign, the screencast will start. There'll be a little window at the bottom of the screen telling you that you're capturing the window. You will then be doing your screencast. So you will go through your script, your storyboard, and have your screencast. And again, this may be where you take several times to do it. It's a new process, and you'll take maybe several opportunities to do it. And when you're finished, down at the bottom of the screen, you'll be able to click to end the screencast. And then your screencast, you'll have the chance to be able to share it by sending it to YouTube. And after you've done that, you will, and actually that's an extra step in here that I don't have included, so I'm going to add that right now. This is why you practice several times, and I missed this. But at this point, after you end it, you will share it with YouTube. And we'll see how that looks. Once you've shared it with YouTube, you can go to YouTube and see the final project. Now, it'll take it a little while to load up to YouTube, so you just can walk away for a while, work on something else. You should actually get an email from YouTube when it's uploaded and finished, and you can wait for that, or you can go check on YouTube and make sure that it's working for you. Once you go to YouTube and it's there, you have the possibility of trimming it. So you can actually, those first few seconds, if they're a little bit off, maybe you were on the wrong web page, you can trim that off. Or at the end, maybe you don't like quite the way it ended, you can trim a little off the end. This particular screencasting tool, you can't do a lot of other editing. It's very simple, and so you just need to be able to live with what you have and realize that students will learn from it, that it'll be valuable. So don't worry about it being perfect, just worry about sharing good information within the screencast that they'll want to partake in and will appreciate. Once you've done any kind of trimming that you were going to do, then you can share your screencast with your students. Use the URL. The URL could be pasted in a learning management system. It can be shared by email. So that's it. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example of this right now. So I'm going to actually walk you through a process, and all I'm going to do is quickly show you how you could find iPad resources on a Merlot website. So let's walk through that process now. So I've got everything set up for my presentation. So what I would want to do is first I'm going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to go to Apps so that I have the SnagIt icon there. The next thing I'm going to do is go to the window, the tab that has the information that I want. So this is I'm going to show you about a resource called Merlot, Multimedia Educational Resources for Learning and Online Teaching. This is a place where you can find open educational resources, free tools that you can use with students. And so I'm going to just quickly show you how you could search for some iPad apps using this particular tool. So I've got the website I want up. I'm going to go back to that tab with SnagIt in it, and I'm going to click on SnagIt. And as soon as I do that, I will get the SnagIt library window. This is where all your things that you've captured are. You can see here's that Steps to Success image. And here's a screencast. You can see the little play button that indicates that it's a screencast. And so to create a new screencast, I'm just going to click on this plus sign. Before I do that, I can see that the YouTube window is the one in the background. So I'm going to go back and close that first. So I'm just going to make sure this is the latest tab. So it looks like safest thing is to make sure this is the last tab, and then click for a new tab, click Apps, and then click on SnagIt. Okay, now I've got the right one in the background. That's what I want to make sure of. And now, if I go ahead and click the plus sign, I'll be able to start. So it'll come up first with me needing to pick what I'm going to record. And I have two screens on my computer here, so it could either be screen 1 or screen 2, but I can also just have it record a particular window. If you're jumping around between different applications, then you'd probably want to record the whole screen. If you're just going to show them how to do, as your students, how to use a particular website, then to just choose that website, the window for that website is what you would want to do. And so I'm just choosing Google Chrome, the website where Merlot is right now. And I'll click OK. You're not seeing it, it's below the recording line of my screen, but down at the very bottom of my screen I now see where it says TechSmith SnagIt is sharing your screen, and I have a link to stop the recording. So I'm going to start it now, and all of this stuff is actually being recorded, so this is stuff that I'll want to trim off. So realize you can take a little bit off. It's best if you're ready to go right when you've selected click plus and then selected what you want to record. Welcome students. In this screencast I'm going to show you how you can search Merlot to find educational resources related to your iPad. So I'm going to click on this Search Merlot arrow, and I'm going to choose to search materials. And when that window comes up, I'm going to go to a particular community that I'm familiar with, I'm a part of, and that's teacher education. So I'm going to scroll all the way down at the very bottom and select teacher education. And then I could choose a category, but I'm going to let it have all of the teacher education categories. I'm leaving everything else as a default, and the only thing I'm doing is I'm coming down to where it says iOS, Apple, and I'm choosing tablet. And then I'm going to choose search. And once I've clicked that, I now see a list of resources, and I see not only the apps that they're sharing with me, a link to those, but I also see how these were reviewed. I see that these were peer-reviewed, they were user-reviewed, and the peer reviews, there's an editorial board which I'm a part of that reviews apps, and so some of these were reviewed by me. But as you scroll down, you can see various apps here. And you can also see that there's different categories on the side that you could choose. And if you would click on one of these links, so I'm clicking on the very first one, we would see that we can actually go to the material, so we could actually go to where we could download that app. And we also see a description, we see keywords, and we could click on this peer review link, and we could read what the peer review was, how it was rated, and what was selected as being outstanding for this particular item. So this could be helpful as you're choosing apps to use in your class. And this ends our screencast. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. So at this point, I've finished my screencast, and so I'm going to go down. Again, you're not seeing this on your screen, but at the very bottom of my screen, I'm seeing a stop recording link. So I'm going to choose that. And so it has stopped the recording, and we're now seeing the recording on the screen. And we could play this and watch it here. I'll do that a little bit. And you're hearing a little bit of that maybe, but I'm wearing a lapel mic, so maybe not as well. But it is playing for me, and so this is all here. I could check, I could watch the whole thing to make sure it all recorded the way I want, and then I can choose down here on the bottom right to click share and to click YouTube. And when I do that, I can title it. So I'm going to title this using Merlot to find iPad apps for education. Okay, I could fill in the tags and the descriptions. In terms of privacy, you could make it public if you want, but you could also, if you want, choose unlisted, which will take it out of the YouTube search, but allow you to share a link with anyone, and anyone who you share the link with would be able to watch it. If you choose to make it private, you'll have to add individuals using YouTube. You'll have to go in and actually know their user information and add them individually. So I would suggest, at least for the class, if you don't want to make it public, to make it unlisted and then share. Just note that if you were demonstrating, for example, how we might use a gradebook program, not a good idea for a screencast to use real data. So think carefully about what you're screencasting. If your email shows up or something else on the screen, you probably just want to stop and start over again if you haven't made it, so that that type of material won't come up. I'm going to click share then, and it's going to take a few seconds there to load to YouTube. And when it does that, it's not going to be ready in YouTube right away. I do have the URL here. It's copied to my clipboard, so I could just click another tab and paste, and that is the actual URL for what I'm going to be sharing. But if we go to YouTube, it tells you that it's currently being processed. So it's not ready to share yet. I'm going to end this recording pretty soon, so it probably won't be ready by the time we finish. But if once you're here, then you will have the ability to use the video manager. And I'll just demonstrate on this video manager. I did this earlier, so here's my using Merlot to find iPad apps. That's the one we just did. And here's my demo that I did before. So if I choose to edit this, one of the options that I will have to do is Enhancements. You can see Enhancements here. If I click that, okay, one of the choices at the bottom is to trim it. And so if I click on this trim link, I can now choose where I want it to start. So I can listen to it, and if I was on the wrong place, I can actually drag this over until I'm actually in the place that I want to be. So let's say that's where I wanted it to start, and let's say I would listen to the whole thing, and I know that you know, there's a little bit of time at the end that I want to make it, and you can nudge this. There's different ways. You don't have to be set right away, but I can choose to end it at a before. Once you've made those settings, then you can choose to say done, and it'll let you test that. And if you're satisfied, then you can save it to finish this. And if you aren't, you can go back and trim again until you get it the way you want. Again, on this, if you're doing this for my class for a project, I don't expect perfection. This is you're learning, so do the best you can initially. And just know that this is a way that you could trim clips, and you could spend the time you need to spend later if this is for your own work. But once you would save that, it's going to tell you that it'll take a little time. So don't expect once you've saved it, see, it's still showing me the wrong part of this. It's showing me the part that I cut off, but it tells me to sit tight, it's being processed, come back later, and it'll be done. So you wouldn't want to share it yet. You'd want to wait, give it a few hours or something, come back later, and then it should be right. The URL will be the same. You won't need to change that. All right. Well, let's go back to our slides here, and we've made it through our list. We've done all of this. We used our Assure model to set it up. We practiced. We minimized our distractions. We got our web page set up that we wanted to share. We started the SnagIt app. We clicked on the plus sign, picked the right screen, and then we started our screencast, presented it, and then we ended our screencast. We shared it on YouTube. If we wanted to trim it, we did. And when that process is all finished, we'd be able to share the URL for that screencast. So I thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions for me, you can contact me at my email or Twitter or Google+. Have a great day.